one job.
All righty. Can everybody see Keela from my point of view?
Yep.
Awesome. So before we dig into it, thank you, of course, for having me. Thank you for allowing me to come and share and talk about DonorSearch. I always enjoy these webinars because they're so fun. So thank you for making them so fun for me.
I'm glad that they are. I feel like Keela runs a fun webinar. If that's the one thing we've got, our webinars are fun.
You know, we do lots and lots of webinars, and a lot of them are sticking to the data, slow conversations, you know, about need to know information, but not a lot of jokes. So thank you for that. So anyway, I'm Michael Bronson. Thank you all for having me. Thank you all for attending this this webinar. I work at a company called DonorSearch. DonorSearch is partnered with Keela to provide information inside of the Keela system to help you do what you need to do as an organization. Now, before we kind of get into the weeds of all that, I want to tell you a little bit more about DonorSearch. DonorSearch is a company that has been around for about 13, 14 years now. And we're a prospect research company, which means that we help nonprofits specifically research their donors to help identify and segment those donors into the right categories for that nonprofit. Okay. Now, before we were around, most organizations basically looked at wealth data, and they looked at things like real estate and business information to say, okay, this person is very wealthy, so we should focus on them. All right. But what most nonprofits and what most organizations found is that the people who are the wealthiest aren't necessarily the most philanthropic. So lots of organizations were crying out for a way to identify philanthropy and those likely to give. All right, so that's where DonorSearch got its start. We built a database of charitable giving and then flushed it out with all these other data sets that point to this person's more likely to give a gift. All right, that's why we specifically work with nonprofits and not just, you know, companies looking for wealthy individuals to afford their products. Okay, so when Keela reached out to us, or we reached out to them, I forget how that started, but basically we wanted to provide this information to Keela users specifically in a way that can help the most inside the system, so that you can, at the click of a button, identify more information about your donors and identify what type of future you may have with them, what's likely, what they're capable of, and so on. Okay, so if I go into the contacts lesson here in Keela, I'm going to find this gentleman by the name of Mark Cuban. Now, Mark Cuban is a famous person, and he's a rock star because it's going to help us show all the different data sets. But what would show in your system is just the information you have on the person. So you likely have their address, maybe their email, maybe their phone, right? And then you have your donation history. Now, what most organizations do is they say, okay, this is a $100 donor. Let's classify this person as a $100 donor, which really doesn't make this person stand out, and you move on, right? Now, what Keela has done is they've made things a lot easier, and under fundraising, they've added the section capacity to give, which will actually look up his address and give you demographics for that neighborhood. Right, so a lot of generalized information that says, based on this person's name and their address, specifically their zip code, this is kind of what you can expect, right? And that certainly can get you a long way. All right, we work with them to build a integration right here, DonorSearch integration on the same page, that will allow you to reach out, search through all of our many databases, and pull that information back in at the click of a button. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the entire process. You see it says make first DonorSearch call. That's going to give you the option to change any details that you may see that are mistaken. For instance, we don't know his middle initial, but if you knew it off the top of your head and you didn't realize it wasn't here, you could, of course, put that in. Okay. You could also update this address or correct a spelling, whatever you needed to do. All right, once that's done, you hit confirm and search. It will look through all of our databases and pull that data back in. Okay, now what kind of data are we going to supply? Okay, this is a good quick summary. You'll notice it popped up after about a second. But this is going to give you a ton of information that's going to help share a lot about Mark Cuban. So I'll kind of go through this data a little bit and just kind of give you some quick pointers on each one. The first one is this propensity to give score, or as we call it, our DS rating. This person gets our top score. So he fills the bar here and he is likely to give, right? That's a simplification of what that score really means, but really quick and easy. It's easy to identify. He tops the scale. This is someone who gives. You should go after this person, right? This is somebody that should be an absolute priority for you, right? And that's our DS1-1 score. Now, what goes a little bit behind that is that we're telling you also this person has given a major gift. That's actually what that DS1-1 means. The lower scores and further down the bar would basically be just the wealthy who haven't given a gift, right? And then the upper middle class, somewhere in there. And then your average individuals who, your average individual is just not very likely to give in general. Right now, the fact that they're in your system for one reason or another puts them a step above, but this is going to really help you look towards the future of your relationship with this donor. And in this case, very likely. The next data set here is largest gift found, right? Now, DonorSearch has the largest charitable giving database that exists. And basically what we've done is we've gone out and found public annual reports, right, that you might publish thanking your donors. And in most cases, those gifts are going to be shown in a range that says, this person gave between $50 or $100, right? And then you'll have one that says $101 to $199 and so on, right? So what we're able to do is we're finding those annual reports, we're putting them in a spreadsheet, we're putting it all together with millions and millions of other other records, right? And then we're searching against them. So here, when we're showing you the largest gift that he's made, he has actually made a single gift of $1 million or more, right? And this is the low end of that range that we tend to rely on. Okay, so this person, not only are they likely to give, but now you know that they've given at least $1 million. That's a huge indicator of overall giving. Right now, this person, you may not be their favorite organization. They may not give you $1 million, but if the question is, would they give you more than 100? I think in this example, he had given us $100. Now, I would say that your next ask could easily be 1,000. And he wouldn't really notice the difference because he's used to giving with lots of zeros on the end. Okay. You can also go and look at his overall net worth, right? A lot of these numbers are going to help point to that. So we're going to give you business revenue. We're going to give you stock values, and we're going to give you real estate values, right? So all of these are going to help point to this person has a lot of money behind them, okay? Then we're going to look not just at the charitable giving, but also the political giving. So here we're saying this person has given at least $7,000 to political causes. And then we'll break it out by Republican and Democrat. A lot of nonprofits are on one side or another of the issues. So we help segment it and help show you kind of which side they're leaning. You'll see a lot of business people are giving evenly to both. Okay. Then we get into a lot of little flags here that point to this person's more likely to be philanthropic. Right? If it wasn't already enough that he's given $1 million gift, here we can see he's on the board of a foundation. Here he's affiliated with a business. He's an executive or an owner. The nonprofit flag indicates whether he sits on the board of a nonprofit. With here, we didn't find anything, or we found something that was a low quality. So we're not too sure on that, but he may in fact sit on the board of a nonprofit. And then here we have confirmed that he's an SEC insider. Now, most of you are familiar with businesses and boards of foundations and nonprofits. So that kind of runs the, it's run-of-the-mill information. It's very helpful, but you understand it already. The SEC insider is when someone is an executive at a publicly traded company. Okay, that means you or I can buy stock in that company. Okay, when you and I buy stock in that company, that's private information and it's not going to show up, right? So that person would not be an SEC insider. However, when you're an executive at that company, they're going to show you exactly, exactly what your shares are and everything like that. It all becomes public data. So when we find that information, we flag this person as an SEC insider, which is also where you get this SEC stock value, right? But just because you see a 0 in the stock value doesn't mean they don't own stock. It's a special kind of stock. Okay. We'll go on down here and we'll give you a couple charts based on the data. The first is philanthropic giving. This is going to show you the total of what we have found this person to be giving, and then show you the types of gifts that they give to. Educational gifts, higher education gifts, human services, medical research, and so on. Right? And these are going to change based on which this person gives to. Right? So we'll follow it up with a chart that helps you identify exactly how much of his overall giving goes to certain causes. Okay. As we'll scroll down a little bit here, you'll get to philanthropic giving transactions. So this is going to show you each and every charitable gift that we found this person making. And it's going to show you the specific recipient of those gifts. So earlier we said that he gave $1 million gift. Here it is. Tiffany and Mark Cuban gave the gift to the Hockaday School for $1 million. It was listed as a capital campaign gift, and that gift was given in 2017. Right? There's a lot of information in just that one line. But if you look across all these different gifts and all the different amounts, you're going to start to see trends about who they give to, how much they give to certain types of causes, how often they give, when is their most recent gift, and so on. Right? So all of that's going to be included in the search, followed by that detailed stock holding, like I said before. This will show you exactly which companies they have stock in, how many shares, what the total value is, and so on. Okay. And then flawlessly, it includes those demographic data that was already there. So it really helps round out this profile, helps you go through and make informed decisions based on the data, and helps you segment your data for people that fit certain criteria. Okay. Now, all of this is backed up through the DonorSearch system, but that's kind of a different platform. But you can certainly always reach out to us, and we're glad to talk about that. The benefit to that is that the full platform that we offer tends to run with a higher price tag. The benefit of this built-in integration service inside of Keela is it's very low cost, and it's basically done by the number of searches you want to do. Okay, so if right here, when you do a search, it'll say this is how many calls you have left. And there's packages for, I believe it starts with 750 calls across the year, and then goes all the way up to 3,000. Right, so there's a different scenario if you want to screen thousands of records all at once and do all of that, and we're happy to have that conversation. But this integration is going to make it quick and easy so that you can click a button on a record, pull back data, and then act on that data. Right, and how should you act on this data? I would give him a call. Right, it's quick and easy to judge a person based on the information that you have available, maybe their zip code, maybe the size of the gift they gave. But when you have a lot more available, it helps you to paint that complete picture, know what their likes, their dislikes, their interests are, know what their capabilities are, so that you can make an informed decision of where they might be able to help in your organization. Make sense so far? Do we have any questions? No?
No questions coming through the chat. I think you're covering stuff pretty good. That's always a good sign.
I think so. Did I miss anything? I'm trying to think.
We've got Rod who says, yes, it makes sense. Thanks, which is brilliant. Thanks, Rod. Good to hear. And thanks for touching on our demographics as well, the inbuilt Keela demographics too. I appreciate that little extra bit there where you've connected it back to Keela as well. Thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, demographics is a great data source.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions coming through. So it looks like that usually means, yeah, that you've covered everything and that everyone's kind of sitting in awe. That's what I like to think anyway. Sometimes it's because I talk too much, but you definitely haven't. So I might take over if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much. I always love this, and I always learn something new every time you go through it. And I think, I mean, that's not a good sign. I should know everything at this point, but I'm happy to be continuously learning. That's what's keeping me going at this point is constant learning journeys. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah.
And we're very excited to have you back, like I said. And at this point, something we wanted to do to kind of celebrate having you join us and you taking the time to share this with us is that we wanted to give a coupon to kind of celebrate. So for folks who may be considering purchasing the donor search integration in the upcoming months, reach out to us because we are offering 25% off any donor search purchase. Up until December 31st. And there are a lot of other promotions as well going on with Keela, so keep an eye out for those. We've got premium care for 50% off this month. And I'll throw in a little spoiler. We've got an automation coupon coming out next month in December. So you all get a little spoiler there. If you're thinking about purchasing automation, perhaps wait until December. And then this 25% off coupon runs until the end of the year. So it runs both months. So it's Christmas time at Keela. Okay, well, I think what we'll do, we'll give everybody some time back in their day. If you have any questions about donor search, oh, no, we've got one. Sorry. Rod has sent through a question.
Thank you,
Question.
Rod.
Once you run the search, the donor record shows an option to update data. What does that do exactly?
Excellent. I'm glad you asked that because I forgot to cover it. So basically, this is all of these databases are constantly being expanded. Okay, so in the case of charitable giving, we had over 100,000 charitable gifts every month, right? So we're constantly growing those data sets. So if you haven't updated this record in a while, you can click that update. It's going to go out and find any new data and pull it in as well. All right, so it's going to refresh the numbers. It's going to update everything. You don't typically have to do it very often because most average individuals aren't going to change very often. But if it's been 6 months or a year since you ran the profile and you're going to go talk to that person here in the next week or two, it's certainly good to refresh that data and just make sure anything else hasn't come up since then.
That makes sense. I think maybe as a rule, if you're sort of wondering, it might be a good idea to do it at the start of every year because it's off the back of a really big giving season. It's traditionally most gifts happen at the end of the year because you've got Giving Tuesday and you've got kind of end of year holiday spirit. Maybe if you're going to be updating it, do it in January. But of course, I like your idea of if you're about to speak to them, definitely.
Well, most of the charitable giving data we get comes from public annual reports, which
Yes.
tend to come out at the end of January, beginning
Okay.
of February. So I would say March is probably the best
Beautiful.
time to refresh because, yeah, we have gotten a ton of
Well,
the following year's annual reports.
Great question, Rod. I did not know any of this, so that's a little nugget I can tuck away. Maybe I'll send out a reminder to everybody with Donor Search in March and just say, remember that webinar? You thought I'd forget, didn't you? But I haven't. It's March. Maybe it's time to do a quick refresh. Oh,
Uh,
we've got another question from Alex. Oh, sorry. Did I interrupt you,
no,
Michael?
no, I just saw the questions from Alex and
Ah,
Rod.
you got it.
So,
If you have any good tips for when to use Donor Search, that would be great. What do your most successful orgs do with Donor Search?
ooh, double. I like that. So good tips when to use is speaking of timing. Anytime's a good time. Okay. But there's a couple key times. Certainly, if you're going to go into a capital campaign, is an excellent time to make sure you know as much information you can on your donors as possible. Okay, that's going to help you set that campaign goal. It's going to help you see who falls in which buckets and how many of certain level gifts that you'll have to get to obtain that goal. Right. So certainly that's a big time when a lot of organizations do it. But the organizations that have the most success in general use it on a regular basis because what happens is if you receive a gift from, let's say me, right, I make a gift to you for $50. You typically will send me a thank you email, right? And then it may be months, if not, to the end of the year before I hear from you again. And that's common for a lot of organizations. Now, in many cases, I may have forgotten all about your organization by then, right? So that's why we do things like send regular email and do like that. But when it comes to major gifts and building those long-term relationships with the right people, if I make a $50 gift and then you see that I'm like Mark Cuban here, and there's a lot of potential giving that I could provide in the future, and I could really help your organization out, instead of that standard thank you email, you could pick up the phone and call me. All right, what that's going to do is it's going to stand out in my brain that I made a gift and I got a call. Right, most organizations don't do that. That's not been my experience. Right, so now in my head, I'm going to keep thinking about your organization. Right, and so it's really just going to help you build that relationship with me as a donor, and as an organization, you are going to be more well informed with your projections and your goals, and you know who you have in your database to help you achieve those various projects.
That makes sense. I think a lot of in my experience has been, I felt sort of a hesitancy to make those asks, to increase the level that I'm asking for, to reach out, to do the phone calls. Sometimes it's really good to have data give you permission to do that, because it takes away the emotion, the hesitance I might feel, because if it's in the data, then I shoot my shot and I go for it. And you're guaranteeing success by just using data like this. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it really gives you the confidence to really go out and ask for those larger gifts when you know they've done it before.
Absolutely. And if you don't ask, you never get it. Something my mum taught me.
Exactly.
All our parents probably taught us that, through that phrase around at some point. But definitely. And I think I really want to see that in the nonprofit world. I want to see that folks moving more away from that into using data, because I think it's a really emotionally exhausting industry to be in. And whenever you can, put the decision making onto data, you're saving emotional energy for other things, for the conversation itself, which requires emotional energy. So anything we can do to kind of protect the energy and well-being of nonprofit workers, I'm here for it. I think we had another question. Oh, a follow-up question from Rod. Thank you, Rod. I also noticed there was an option to update contact data before running the donor search. What exactly gets updated if you select that option?
I will show you if I can find that screen. Here we go. All right. So if in that situation where you hit update data, right? So let's say that his middle initial is R, right? And then it says update this contact record, right? So you can confirm and search. What that's going to do is it's going to add that middle initial to your contact information inside of Keela, as well as include it for the search. Okay, so it's twofold. It's going to go kind of backwards into the contact and use that information forward to build a better profile. And in this case, if that was true, if his middle name was R, it would go a long way to help improve the accuracy of the data and help pinpoint the accurate, correct giving based on that information. I think that answers the question, right?
Beautiful. Yeah, Rod said thank you. Got it. That's perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Rod.
More questions coming through, but special shout out to Rod. I think 3 questions. That's a winner. I'd like to give everyone half an hour back in their day. The greatest gift I can give anyone, I think. Everyone, your only homework is to go get a cup of tea or a coffee and take 30 minutes to appreciate whatever the weather is outside your house, whether it's sunny, whether it's gray, whether it's snowing, and enjoy. Thank you all for coming along. And Michael, thanks for coming along. We love having you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really do enjoy it.
Brilliant. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.